let's talk about England, the birthplace of football, the inventors of the beautiful game, the nation that gave the world the Premier League, fish and chips, and an uncanny ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, like it's their actual job. For decades, England has been the football equivalent of that friend who brags about being amazing at FIFA, then loses to his little sister on amateur mode. They've got the history, they've got the money, they've got the players. So why does it always end in tears, bad penalties, and memes that haunt them forever? Enter the so-called Golden Generation, a squad so packed with talent it should have been illegal. David Beckham, global icon, free-kick wizard, and the man who could sell shampoo just by existing. Steven Gerrard, Liverpool legend, midfield machine, and owner of the most unfortunate slip in Premier League history. Frank Lampard, goal-scoring midfielder, Chelsea royalty, and proof that you can be brilliant and still win absolutely nothing with England. Wayne Rooney, the teenage wonder kid who became a national treasure, then a meme, then a Derby County manager. This was supposed to be England's moment. The era where they finally stopped being the nearly men and became actual winners. Instead, what did they achieve? A highlight reel of glorious failures and enough penalty shootout trauma to last a lifetime. Let's take a trip back to 2006. World Cup in Germany. England's squad, stacked. Expectations, sky high. Reality, a quarter-final exit thanks to Rooney's red card, Ronaldo's wink, and Portugal laughing all the way to the semis. The Golden Generation had everything. Except, the ability to win when it mattered. Fast forward to 2010. South Africa, the World Cup. England's campaign started with a goalkeeping blunder so bad, it deserved its own horror movie title. The Hand of Claude. Rob Green's howler against the USA set the tone for another tournament of misery. They scraped through the group stage, got battered by Germany in the last 16, and went home wondering if they'd ever win anything ever again. Spoiler, they wouldn't. Then came 2016, the Euros, England versus Iceland, a country with more active volcanoes than professional footballers. A team managed by a part-time dentist, a match that should have been a walk in the park. Instead, it was a walk of shame. England lost 2-1, Roy Hodgson resigned, and the entire nation collectively face-palmed. But here's the thing, England didn't learn. They never learn. New generation, same old story. It's coming home, they sang in 2018, and for a brief, beautiful moment, it almost felt possible. Then Croatia happened, extra time happened, heartbreak happened again. And let's not even talk about Euro 2020. Oh wait, we have to. Because how do you lose a final at Wembley on penalties to Italy? A team that hadn't even qualified for the 2018 World Cup. A team that England had beaten in the group stage. A team that, let's be honest, wasn't even that good. It's almost impressive in its own tragic way. So here we are. Another tournament cycle, another wave of hype, another inevitable letdown. England's golden generation wasn't golden. It was fool's gold. Shiny on the surface, worthless when it mattered. And the worst part, they're still doing it. But hey, at least they're consistent. If you love disappointment, England is your team. And if you love laughing at disappointment, then smash that subscribe button because this story only gets worse from here. Let's be real. England's football failures aren't just disappointing. They're downright Shakespearean tragedies with worse endings. We're talking about a nation that practically invented the sport, yet somehow became its own worst enemy. The stakes? Oh, they're massive. Because every time England crashes out of a tournament, it's not just a loss. It's a full-blown national identity crisis served with a side of terrible pub food. Picture this. It's summer 2018. The sun's shining, beer gardens are packed, and Gareth Southgate's waistcoat is becoming a national treasure. England actually wins a penalty shootout, against Colombia no less, for the first time since, the Stone Age. The country loses its collective mind. "It's coming home," echoes from Newcastle to Newquay. Even your nan, who thinks VAR is a type of microwave, is suddenly a die-hard fan. The hope is real. The expectation is back. And then, Croatia. The 2-1 semi-final loss wasn't just a football match. It was like watching someone take the entire country's happiness and punt it into the Thames. The stakes weren't just about trophies at this point. They were about healing decades of hurt, about proving England could actually be good at the one sport they're supposed to dominate. Instead, same old England. The memes wrote themselves. The jokes wrote themselves. Even the players looked like they wanted to crawl under their waistcoats and disappear. But here's where it gets really painful. This wasn't some plucky underdog story where England fought bravely against superior opposition. No, no, no. This was England, with all their Premier League riches, with all their best league in the world boasting, with all their media hype. Getting outplayed by a country whose entire population could fit inside London with room to spare. Croatia's midfield trio of Modric, Rakitic, and Brozovic made England's golden midfield look like they'd never met before. And they probably hadn't, given England's revolving door of tactical ideas. The stakes skyrocketed after that World Cup success. Suddenly, England were supposed to be good again. The 2018 run wasn't a fluke, it was a springboard. Euro 2020, played in 2021 because, everything's weird now, was going to be their moment. Home advantage at Wembley. A squad packed with young talent. Harry Kane in his prime. What could go wrong? Oh, everything. Everything could go wrong. And it did. That final against Italy wasn't just a football match. It was national therapy session waiting to happen. England scored early. Shocking, I know. And then promptly forgot how to play football. The second half was like watching someone slowly deflate a balloon while making direct eye contact with you. And when it went to penalties? Well, we all knew how this story ends. 3 young black players missed, racist abuse flooded in, and suddenly we weren't just talking about football anymore. The stakes had never been higher or more depressing. Here's the brutal truth. England's failures matter because they keep happening in the most spectacularly English way possible. It's never just a loss. It's a loss with baggage, a loss with history, a loss that comes with 50 years of what-ifs and if-onlys. Every tournament exit isn't just about football. It's about national pride, about identity, about whether an entire country gets to be happy for 5 minutes before reality comes crashing back down. And the worst part? The cycle never ends. New generation, same old story. The media hypes them up, the fans buy in, the players look good in the group stage. And then, when it really matters, when the pressure's on, England does what England does best. Finds new and creative ways to break your heart. The stakes for England's golden generation weren't just trophies. They were about proving they could escape history, about showing they were different, about finally being the team that didn't let everyone down. Instead, they became the team that raised expectations just high enough to make the fall hurt even more. And if that's not peak England, I don't know what is. Want to see just how deep this rabbit hole of disappointment goes? You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button because, trust me, this story isn't getting any happier. Let's talk tactics. Or rather, let's talk about England's complete lack of them whenever it actually matters. Because here's the dirty little secret about all those golden generations. They weren't just unlucky. They were tactically outclassed, mismanaged into oblivion, and set up to fail by a revolving door of managers who seemed determined to prove that yes, you can fit square pegs into round holes if you hammer them hard enough. Remember Sven-Göran Eriksson? The smooth-talking Swede who was supposed to bring continental sophistication to England's caveman football? Bless his heart, he tried. But his master plan for the 2006 World Cup amounted to, let's cram Gerrard and Lampard into the same midfield and hope they figure it out. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Watching Gerrard and Lampard play together was like watching two alpha dogs stuck in the same kennel. Lots of energy, zero coordination. Meanwhile, Paul Scholes, one of the most intelligent midfielders England has ever produced, got shunted out to left wing like some sort of footballing afterthought. Tactical genius. Then came Steve McClaren. Oh God, Steve McClaren. The man whose umbrella became more famous than his coaching. His tenure was so bad, it makes you wonder if he was actually a double agent working for Croatia. England's crucial Euro 2008 qualifier against Croatia was less a football match and more a public humiliation. A 3-2 loss at Wembley that featured a goalkeeper, Scott Carson, who looked like he'd won a competition to be there. And a tactical setup so confused, even the players seemed surprised when the referee blew his whistle to start the game. Fast forward to Roy Hodgson's reign, the football equivalent of watching paint dry, if the paint occasionally lost to Iceland. Hodgson's masterstroke at Euro 2016? Playing Harry Kane on corners. Let me repeat that. Harry Kane. On corners. The Premier League's top scorer, the most lethal finisher England had. And Roy had him taking set pieces like some sort of budget Beckham. Meanwhile, England's actual set-piece specialist, James Ward-Prowse, was at home watching on TV. You can't make this stuff up. But here's where it gets really depressing. Even when England finally got a progressive manager in Gareth Southgate, they still found ways to tactically implode. That Euro 2020 final was a masterclass in how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. England score early? Great. Now let's immediately stop playing football, invite endless pressure, and make exactly zero proactive substitutions until it's too late. Southgate's substitutions that night were so late, they might as well have arrived by Royal Mail. By the time Bukayo Saka and Jadon Sancho came on for their doomed penalty kicks, they'd been sitting on the bench so long they probably forgot they were even in the squad. The real kicker. England's tactical failures keep happening in the exact same ways, tournament after tournament. Can't break down defensive teams? Check. No plan B when the going gets tough? Check. Midfield overrun by technically superior opponents? Big check. It's like watching the same horror movie on repeat, except the monster is England's own tactical naivety, and it always gets them in the end. And let's talk about the Premier League's role in this mess. England produces all these talented players, then watches as they're benched behind expensive imports at their own clubs. The best league in the world has become England's worst enemy. A development graveyard where young English talent either rots on the bench or gets loaned out to the Championship until all their confidence is gone. Meanwhile, countries like Croatia, population 4 men in a fishing boat, develop world-class midfielders because their kids actually play football matches instead of sitting in elite development squads until they're 23. The most damning indictment of England's tactical failures? Look at the players who've succeeded after leaving the national team setup. Scholes became more influential for Manchester United when he stopped playing for England. Glenn Johnson looked like a world beater at Liverpool compared to his England performances. Even today, you've got players like James Maddison who look like world beaters for their clubs, but can't get a sniff for England because the system doesn't know how to use them. It's enough to make you wonder, is England's problem the players? Or is it the fact that they're constantly being set up to fail by tactical setups that would look outdated in a Sunday league match? The answer, depressingly, might be both. Want to see just how much worse this tactical car crash can get? Stick around, because when we come back, we're diving into England's special relationship with penalty shootouts. And let me tell you, it's not pretty. If there's one thing England have perfected over the years, it's the art of the penalty shootout disaster. We're not just talking about missing a few spot kicks here and there. We're talking about a full-blown, generational trauma that's been passed down like some cursed family heirloom. From Turin in 1990 to Wembley in 2021, England's relationship with penalties isn't just bad, it's pathological. Let's start with the numbers because, oh boy, do they tell a story. Before 2018, England had competed in 7 major tournament penalty shootouts. They'd lost 6 of them. That's not just unlucky, that's statistically improbable. You'd have better odds of getting struck by lightning while winning the lottery than being that consistently terrible at something. And the crazy part? The misses aren't just random. They're iconic. They're historic. They're seared into the national consciousness like a bad tattoo you got when you were drunk at 18. Who could forget Chris Waddle in 1990? The mullet, the run-up, the shot that nearly cleared the stadium in Turin. That penalty was so high, it probably needed a flight plan. Then came Euro '96. Gareth Southgate. Yes, that Gareth Southgate, with the most timid penalty attempt in history, easily saved by Germany's keeper. The image of Southgate in that pizza ad wearing an "I missed a penalty" paper bag over his head. That's not just marketing. That's England's entire penalty psyche summed up in one image. Fast forward to 2004 and Portugal. Beckham skies one over the bar like he's trying to punt the ball back to London. Then there's 2006. Same opponent, same outcome. Gerrard, Carragher, Lampard. 3 of England's best players of their generation, all failing from 12 yards. By this point, England's penalty curse wasn't just a running joke. It was a full-blown epidemic. But here's where it gets really tragic. In 2018, England actually won a shootout against Colombia. In the World Cup, the nation went wild. "The curse is broken," they screamed. "Southgate has fixed it." They cheered. Except he hadn't. Because 3 years later at Euro 2020, England were right back to their old tricks. That final against Italy wasn't just another shootout loss. It was Shakespearean in its cruelty. 3 young players, Saka, Sancho, Rashford, all missing in the most high-pressure moment imaginable. The racist abuse that followed was disgusting, but let's be honest. The real crime was England's complete lack of preparation. Rashford and Sancho had been on the pitch for about 30 seconds before taking their penalties. Southgate's substitutions were so poorly timed, they might as well have been sabotage. What makes England's penalty failing so galling isn't just the misses. It's the complete lack of learning. Other nations practice penalties religiously. Germany treats them like a science. Argentina has entire training sessions dedicated to the psychology of spot kicks. England? They seem to treat penalties like some sort of dark magic that can't possibly be prepared for. The stats are damning. Since 1990, England players have taken 40 penalties in major tournament shootouts. They've missed 14 of them, a 35% failure rate that would get you fired from any other job. The most painful part? It's not like they're being outplayed in open football. These are games England could have won if they could just do the simplest thing in football: kick a stationary ball from 12 yards. And let's talk about the psychological damage. Every time England face a shootout, you can see the fear in their eyes before they even step up. It's like watching someone walk to the gallows. The shoulders slump, the breathing gets heavy, the run-up gets slower. By the time they actually kick the ball, they've already lost the mental battle. The real kicker? England actually have good penalty takers. Kane is one of the best in the world. Bellingham has ice in his veins. Even Rice has stepped up for West Ham in big moments. But put them in an England shirt in a tournament, and suddenly it's like they've forgotten how their legs work. There's only one logical conclusion. England's penalty curse isn't about skill. It's not about technique. It's about something deeper. A mental block that's been passed down through generations like some sort of footballing original sin. Until they properly address the psychological aspect. Until they stop treating penalties like some mystical force beyond their control, the heartbreak will continue. And the worst part? Everyone knows it's coming. The fans know it. The players know it. Even the opponents know it. When a knockout game goes to penalties against England, the other team already knows they've won. That's not just a weakness. That's an institutional failure. Want to know how this tragicomedy ends? Stay tuned. Because when we come back, we're tackling England's most painful failure yet. The wasted potential of their actual golden generation. And let me tell you, it's enough to make grown adults weep into their replica shirts. Let's talk about the most painful what-if in English football history. Not the missed penalties, not the dodgy red cards, but the absolute criminal waste of talent that was England's actual golden generation. We're talking about a squad so stacked, so overflowing with world-class players, that their collective failure isn't just disappointing, it's borderline footballing malpractice. The early 2000s should have been England's era of domination. The Premier League was becoming the richest league in the world, pumping out elite talents like a factory. The national team had a backline featuring prime Ashley Cole, the best left-back of his generation, Rio Ferdinand, a Rolls-Royce defender, John Terry, a leader of men, and Gary Neville, annoying but effective. A midfield with Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard at their peak. Two players who dominated Europe with their clubs, attacking options like Wayne Rooney, teenage phenom turn machine, Michael Owen, Ballon d'Or winner, and David Beckham, global icon. This wasn't just a good team. This was a squad that should have won something, anything. Instead, what did they achieve? One quarter-final appearance where they lost to Brazil, fair enough, and a string of humiliations that make you wonder if someone cursed the team bus. The 2004 Portugal defeat was particularly brutal. England had Rooney taking the tournament by storm until his injury, then lost on penalties despite having their best ever shootout performance, only missing 2. The 2006 World Cup was even worse. The infamous Gerrard Lampard can't play together saga reached its peak as England limped out against Portugal again. With Rooney's red card and Ronaldo's wink adding insult to injury. What makes this generation's failure so baffling is that these players weren't just good. They were world beaters at club level. Gerrard dragged Liverpool to a Champions League miracle in 2005. Lampard was scoring 20-plus goals a season from midfield for Chelsea. Terry was marshalling one of the greatest Premier League defenses ever. Yet when they put on the England shirt, it was like watching a group of strangers who'd met in the parking lot before the game. The problems ran deeper than just tactics, though Sven's 4-4-2 and pray approach didn't help. There was the WAG culture, the circus of celebrity girlfriends turning major tournaments into reality TV shows. There was the club rivalry spilling over into national team camps. Terry versus Bridge, anyone? And most damningly, there was the complete lack of any coherent system to maximize these incredible players. Look at how other nations treated their golden generations. Spain built tiki-taka around Xavi, and Iniesta Germany revolutionized their youth system after 2000 France structured their entire team around Zidane England. They just threw their stars onto the pitch and hoped for the best. The result? A generation that should have won trophies became a cautionary tale about wasted potential. The real tragedy is that we're still seeing the same patterns today. The current crop, Kane, Bellingham, Foden, Saka, might be the most talented group since that golden generation. But unless they learn from past mistakes, they're doomed to repeat them. The Premier League's dominance is actually working against the national team now, with English players becoming minorities at their own clubs. The pressure is worse than ever in the social media age. And the tactical naivety is still there, lurking beneath the surface. England's golden generation didn't just fail. They set the blueprint for how to waste extraordinary talent. And until the national team learns those lessons, history will keep repeating itself in the most painful ways possible. Want to know how this story ends? The final chapter is coming up, and it might be the most depressing one yet. Let's cut to the brutal truth. England's footballing failures aren't accidents. They're not bad luck. They're the inevitable result of a broken system that keeps producing the same tragic story with different actors. While other nations learn, evolve, and adapt, England remains stuck in a perpetual loop of hype, disappointment, and scapegoating. And unless something fundamentally changes, the next golden generation is already doomed to fail. Consider this damning statistic. Since 1966, England have reached exactly one major tournament final. In that same period, Germany have played in 14 finals, Italy 9, France 6. Even the Netherlands, a country with 1/3 of England's population, have reached more finals. This isn't a blip. It's a pattern, a systemic failure that transcends players, managers, and formations. The problems run deeper than most fans realize. Start with youth development. While Germany was rebuilding their entire academy system after Euro 2000, England was still preaching get-it-in-the-mixer football at grassroots levels. The result? A lost generation of technically gifted players who never got proper coaching. The FA's much-hyped England DNA program arrived about 20 years too late. Then there's the Premier League problem. The best league in the world has become England's worst enemy. Just look at the numbers. In 2022/23, only 28% of Premier League starters were English. Big Six clubs average just 2 to 3 English starters per game. England's U21 players get half the minutes of German or Spanish youngsters. This creates a vicious cycle. English talents either ride the bench at top clubs or get farmed out on loan to lower teams with no development plan. Meanwhile, countries like Croatia, population 3.8 million, produce world-class midfielders because their kids actually play competitive football at key development ages. The tactical illiteracy is even more damning. Watch England try to break down a defensive team, and you'll see the same problems that plagued them in 2006. No coordinated pressing system, zero positional flexibility, midfielders hiding from the ball under pressure, fullbacks crossing aimlessly to nobody. These aren't player issues. They're coaching failures. While Spain produced a generation of managers schooled in positional play, and Germany revolutionized pressing concepts, England's coaching education remained stuck in the dark ages. The result? When England faced tactically sophisticated opponents, they look like amateurs. The psychological scars run deepest. That weight of the shirt isn't just a cliché, it's a measurable burden. England players score 10% fewer goals for country than club, complete fewer passes under pressure, take fewer risks in possession. This manifests in crushing ways during big moments. The 2022 World Cup quarterfinal against France was classic England. Dominate possession, create better chances, then freeze when it matters most. Kane's missed penalty wasn't bad luck. It was the culmination of decades of institutional failure. Even the supposed progress under Southgate papered over cracks. Yes, they reached a final and 2 semifinals. But look closer. Never beat a top 10 nation in knockout play, won just 3 of 11 matches against elite opponents. Relied on soft tournament draws, now the cycle is repeating. The new golden generation of Bellingham, Foden, Saka, and Rice faces the same systemic hurdles. No clear playing identity club versus country conflicts. Media overhype, then backlash tactical inflexibility. Unless England fixes, youth development, more technical focus. Player pathways, actual minutes at top clubs, coaching education, modern tactical concepts, psychological support, handling pressure. Then the next failure is already written. The players will change. The excuses will change. But the ending won't. Because England isn't failing despite its resources. It's failing because of how it misuses them. And that's the most painful truth of all. Want more hard truths about English football? The conversation continues in the comments. Drop your thoughts below on how or if England can ever break this cycle. And if you enjoyed this painfully honest breakdown, you know what to do. Subscribe for more content that tells the uncomfortable truths others won't.